$13 billion. That's what Brazil spent hosting the Summer Olympics. $13 billion for 17 days of sport. And within 6 months of the closing ceremony, looters had broken into the Maracanã, the most famous stadium in South America, and ripped out 7,000 seats. They stole the televisions. They stripped the copper wiring from the walls. They even took the bronze bust the stadium was named after. The electricity had been cut off because nobody paid the bill. The Olympic Aquatics Stadium, where world records were shattered, was shut down by a judge in 2020 because the pools were breeding Zika mosquitoes. Over 20,000 families were evicted from their homes to build these venues. The Olympic Village, promised as Rio's great housing legacy, sold 260 of 3,604 units in its first year. And the man who helped build the Olympics, sentenced to 300 years in prison. But here's the part the IOC really doesn't want you to know. Stay with me. Because this story doesn't just end at empty stadiums. It ends with a criminal admission, a code name, and a question that should haunt every country that's ever bid for these games. October 2nd, 2009, Copenhagen. The IOC reads out the winner of the 2016 Olympic bid, Rio de Janeiro. President Lula, a man who'd grown up in poverty and clawed his way to the top of Brazilian politics, wept openly at the podium. Brazil would become the first South American country to host the Summer Olympics. The world applauded. But here's where it gets ugly immediately. Sergio Cabral was the governor of Rio de Janeiro at the time of the bid. He was also one of the men in that room in Copenhagen. In 2019, Cabral made a confession in court that should have been front-page news around the world. He admitted to paying $2 million in cash bribes to IOC members to buy their votes for Rio. $2 million. The Olympics that Brazil would eventually spend $13 billion hosting, it was purchased. The head of Brazil's own Olympic Committee, Carlos Newsman, was arrested in 2017 on charges tied to the vote-buying scheme. Though his conviction was later overturned, Cabral's court admission is still on the record. And here is the detail that makes this so much worse. Investigators found evidence the bribes were routed through a Senegalese IOC official as a middleman. The FBI got involved. The U.S. Department of Justice launched its own probe. The IOC quietly settled. Nobody at the top faced real consequences. Was the entire foundation of the 2016 Olympics rotten from day one? Drop your take in the comments. Now here's mistake number 2, and this one might actually be worse. Rio already had venues, the Maracanã, existing arenas, existing infrastructure. But city planners chose to build the new Olympic Park in Barra da Tijuca, a wealthy, largely white suburb on the far west of the city, far from public transport, far from the communities that were supposedly being uplifted by the games. A favela resident named Felipe Paiva was asked by a CBS reporter if the Olympics were improving his life. His answer? The investment is not for us. It's for the foreigners. He was right, and the numbers prove it. To build the Olympic Park, Rio signed a public-private deal with a consortium led by Odebrecht, one of Latin America's largest construction companies. The deal gave Odebrecht 40% of the Olympic Park land, prime real estate next to the Jacarepaguá Lagoon, in exchange for building the venues. The plan? Luxury condos after the games. The public would pay for construction. Private developers would keep the land. Mistake number 3. But here's where this gets truly scandalous. Operation Car Wash, the largest corruption investigation in Brazilian history, eventually exposed that Odebrecht had an entire internal department dedicated to paying bribes, a spreadsheet, a budget line, a bureaucracy of corruption. Marcelo Odebrecht, the CEO, was sentenced to 19 years in prison, and Rio's mayor, Eduardo Paes, the man who championed the Olympics to the world, was investigated for allegedly accepting $5 million in corrupt payments tied to Olympic construction contracts. His code name in Odebrecht's internal documents? The Little Jumpy One. $5 million. Codename, the Little Jumpy One. Should the mayor of Rio have been prosecuted? Tell us in the comments. Meanwhile, costs exploded. The original budget of $8.8 billion ballooned to at least $13.1 billion, with some estimates over $20 billion when all government spending is counted. And here's the kicker. While this money was flowing out, the state of Rio couldn't pay its nurses, its teachers, or its police officers. Airport arrivals during the Olympics were greeted by police police officers holding signs that read, "Welcome to Hell." That sign was made by the cops, the ones who weren't getting paid, while $13 billion was being spent around them. How does a government let this happen? Drop your answer in the comments. This section doesn't get covered enough, and it should. To build the Olympic Park, Rio demolished Villa Autodromo, a working-class community that had existed for 40 years. Over 700 families were forcibly relocated. Some had fought in court for years to stay. The city promised them the sacrifice would create a lasting public legacy. By 2017, the land where their homes had stood was empty lots. The luxury condos Odebrecht was supposed to build never finished. The corruption scandal had collapsed the company. The land sat empty for years. Real people lost their homes for nothing. And Villa Autodromo was just one community. Researchers estimated that across all Olympic-related construction and infrastructure, over 20,000 families were displaced from their homes across the city between 2009 and 2016. That number doesn't make the highlight reel. It doesn't appear in the opening ceremony broadcast, but it happened. One woman, Maria de Peña, refused to leave. She barricaded herself in her home. The bulldozers worked around her. Her house still stands today, a single preserved structure in a wasteland, as a monument to what was lost. August 21st, 2016, the closing ceremony. The Olympic flame goes out. Brazil throws the greatest party South America has ever seen. And then, 5 months later, this happened. Someone forgot to pay the electricity bill at the Maracanã. $1 million in unpaid utility debts. Power cut. Security gone. And when there's no security, there are looters. Within weeks, 7,000 seats torn from the stands. Copper wiring stripped from walls. Televisions removed. Fire extinguishers stolen. The bronze bust of journalist Mario Filho, the man the stadium was named after, gone. Someone stole the face of the man the stadium was named after. At the aquatic stadium, the pools weren't drained. They weren't maintained. They became standing water. By 2020, a judge issued an emergency closure order because the stagnant water was a confirmed breeding ground for Zika and dengue mosquitoes. The stadium that Brazil built for $38 million, where Ryan Lochte once competed, was literally making people sick. The Olympic Village, built to house 18,000 athletes, then sold to Brazilians as a great housing development. 260 apartments sold out of 3,604. The Deodoro Sports Complex, home to the shooting, equestrian, and modern pentathlon events, was padlocked shut when its management contract expired. Nobody renewed it. The velodrome's roof caught fire. It stayed damaged for months. And then, in 2019, President Bolsonaro dissolved the Olympic Legacy Authority, the only government body responsible for managing these venues. For years after that, there was literally no agency officially in charge of $13 billion worth of Olympic infrastructure. Just to be clear about what happened here, Brazil spent $13 billion, hosted the games, watched the venues collapse into ruins within months, and then officially stopped caring. This is either incompetence on a historic scale, corruption on a historic scale, or both. What do you think? Debate it in the comments. Okay, here's where the story gets complicated, because not everything died. Since 2017, the Olympic Park's main boulevard has hosted Rock in Rio, one of the world's great music festivals. Hundreds of thousands of fans. International acts, full capacity. The abandoned Olympic Park found its crowd, just not for sports. In 2024, one of the Olympic arenas was converted into the largest school in Rio's municipal education network. 24 classrooms, 18,000 square meters. Named after Brazilian volleyball legend Isabel Salgado. The temporary handball arena? Dismantled and rebuilt as 4 schools in Rio's most underserved neighborhoods. They opened in 2023 and 2024. 7 years late, but they opened. And Metro Line 4, the subway extension built partly for the Olympics, now serves hundreds of thousands of Rio commuters every single day. The Maracanã bounced back. It hosted Copa Libertadores finals in 2020 and 2023. It'll host matches for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. The Dallas Cowboys are playing there in 2026. So was it all wasted? Not all of it. Some of it found purpose. Eventually, slowly, imperfectly. But here's the uncomfortable arithmetic. $13 billion. 17 days of sport. Schools that took 7 years to appear. Venues that needed years of decay before anyone acted. Families still displaced. Looters who filled the vacuum before any plan did. Is that a legacy or a tragedy that found a few silver linings? Here's the thing, Rio isn't even the worst of them. Athens 2004, $11.6 billion. Most venues abandoned. Greece is still paying off the debt, and many economists believe Olympic spending accelerated their financial crisis. Beijing's Bird's Nest Stadium, $423 million, now mainly used as a tourist track for segways. Sochi 2014, $55 billion. The most expensive Olympics ever. Abandoned bobsled tracks. Empty ski resorts. After Rio, the Olympic movement nearly collapsed. Only 2 cities bid for the 2022 Winter Games. The IOC was forced to reform. Paris 2024 ran almost entirely on existing venues. No new stadiums. The Eiffel Tower as a backdrop. The Seine as a swimming course. Significantly under the historical average for cost. It worked. The crowds came. The world watched. Paris proved you don't need to spend $13 billion to host a great Olympics, which makes what happened in Rio, in a country that was simultaneously cutting hospital budgets and evicting poor families, even harder to justify. Oxford economist Bent Flubier has studied every Olympics since 1960. His finding? Summer Olympics go over budget by an average of 172% every time, without exception. Rio wasn't uniquely bad at this, but Rio was uniquely unprepared to absorb the damage. So, was hosting the 2016 Olympics the biggest mistake in Brazilian history? For the city of Rio? A new subway line, some schools eventually, Rock in Rio, Maracanã still standing, but also years of debt, collapsed governance, and a park that rotted before anyone fixed it. Complicated, leaning bad. For Brazilian taxpayers? $13 billion during a recession, while nurses went unpaid. For venues that were looted within months. That one's simple. That's a failure. For the families of Vila Autodromo and 20,000 others, their homes gone. The land they were cleared for, empty for years. For them, an injustice. For the athletes, records broken, performances legendary. The games themselves were extraordinary. For them, it delivered. For the global Olympic movement, Rio's disaster forced a reckoning. Paris proved a better model is possible. If the IOC finally reforms because of what happened here, then Rio's failure may have saved the Olympics from itself. Here's the question I'll leave you with. Brazil didn't fail because it was Brazil. It failed because the Olympics, as they were designed, required a country to spend money it didn't have, demolish communities it couldn't replace, and build venues it had no plan to use. The problem wasn't the stadiums. The problem was a system designed so that the people who benefit from building the Olympics are never the same people who have to live with what's left behind. Have you ever been to Rio? Visited any of these venues? Tell us in the comments. We read every single one. And this: is the Olympic model broken beyond repair, or can Paris 2024 actually save it? Debate below. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe, because next time we're going to a city that spent $500 million on an Olympic stadium and then watched its entire government collapse before the games even started.